And that will just be for the presentation section with myself and Miss Keat. It won't be happening when we get to the Q&A session. You might need to remind me, Miss Keat, about that, if that's all right.
No problem.
Wonderful. Right, we'll begin then. So Miss Keat and I are going to talk to you this evening about how to help support your child during lockdown, particularly with reference to timetabling their work and their revision in the home environment at this point in time. So I'll begin, and I'll just talk you through the timetabling element of it. So we know that all of our students have a timetable that they can follow. And most importantly, you can access those timetables as well. So I've taken a screen grab here from the COVID online work section on the website, and you can see clearly there are a variety of tabs for you to press on that will give you access to your child's timetable. And in addition to that, there's some supporting documents that you might find useful that you can access through the website. Okay, I'm not sure why, and I've just seen in the chat that we still can't see the PowerPoint. Mrs. Contianapoulou, can you see the PowerPoint? It would be helpful for me to know from anyone else in the chat if they can see the PowerPoint.
I can see it from here.
Right, okay. Right, okay, we've got some, thanks, Can now. That's wonderful. That's great news. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody, for jumping in there. That's great. Okay, so if we move on, one of the buttons then you can see is that here we've got the Year 7 timetable that Mrs. Mansfield just showed you in the main meeting. And what you can see there is that we've highlighted the live sessions, and then the ones in white are our recommended timetable for your child. So what we do is we provide a timetable that has the live sessions on, but it also, we're proposing that actually that's the work we recommend that your child does in each of their lessons throughout the day. Okay, the blue ones are live, the white ones will be the asynchronous, the work we'd expect them to be doing independently. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about why we recommend that students follow that timetable in a minute, but I'll just move you on because the Year 10 timetable is slightly different. My daughter's in Year 10, so this is the timetable that I look at each week, and you can see that all of the option subjects are in there. So for the Year 10 timetable, what you have to do is just highlight the subjects that your child is studying, okay? Because we can't produce a timetable for every combination of option subjects. So you fill that in from a blank version that is on the website, and that's what I do with my daughter each week. So we've gone through the Year 7 and the Year 10 there. We strongly encourage you to follow the suggested timetable that you could see on slide 4. The reason that we strongly advise that you do that is it enables students to work in a way most similar to being in school. And what I mean by that is the temptation would be that if you followed the work on class charts, you would attempt to complete an entire subject before moving on to another subject. So it might be that you start on a Monday morning and you think, right, I'm going to get all of my maths done now. That can, one, be quite overwhelming and mean that a student does too much of that subject and spends too long on it. So, for example, rather than just spending an hour on the first lesson, they might spend 2 or 3 or even 4 hours, and then they don't have time for their other subjects. So by following the recommended or the suggested timetable, what it means is at the end of that hour, the student can submit the work they've managed to complete and move on to the next task, and they're not spending too long on individual subjects. It helps with the sequencing of work. So some of the work we need students to do before the live lesson, and some of it they will do after the live lesson. And if they follow your your child follows the suggested timetable, then their work will be sequenced appropriately, and that's helpful. And it also helps them to independently manage their workload, because one of the themes that's coming through most from our students at this time is that they often feel overwhelmed, where if they follow the suggested timetable and they submit tasks at the end of each hour where they're required to do so, it means that they can move on and they can tick off on their timetables that they've completed that, and they can move on to the next piece. And that is good for their mental health and well-being, that ability to be able to say, okay, I've finished with that particular piece of work now, and I'm now going to move on. We do understand that for some students, they might want to tweak or alter the suggested timetable. And I had a brilliant conversation with 2 Year 8 families earlier this week, where the children had said, yeah, we've looked at the suggested timetable, and we know when we have to submit the work, and we know what work we need to do before the live lesson, but we prefer doing it in this order because maybe there's an older sibling in the house that can support them with their maths at that point. Or maybe actually what they want to do is they want to end their day with their favourite subject. If your child wants to tweak or alter the suggested timetable in that manner and it suits them, then brilliant. That's great if they've got the support mechanisms in place at home to do that. That's great. And we're not saying that children can't do that. What we're saying is the suggested timetable enables us to support them if they need it. But actually, if you can modify it and tweak it for your particular environment, then great. We also have some students who might want to take a different approach altogether. And they might want to run their week by tasks, not by timetable. Now, my daughter is in year 10, and this is how she chooses to do it and how we've chosen to do it as a family. It's not without its difficulties, but we've found, because she's in year 10 and because she's picking up different option groups, it enables us to make sure that the work is done in an order, and it enables her to tick off work and feel that she's completed tasks. And it looks a little bit like this. So, and I will make this pro forma available as well. So you've got the subjects on the left-hand side, the tasks, and then the work that's for submission on the right-hand side. And we highlight it when work is completed. Now, I have to probably be of an evening and at the weekend more engaged in order to support with this. Some children will be able to do it independently, but if you're in any doubt, we wouldn't recommend that you necessarily do it in that way. We would recommend you follow the suggested timetable. If that is overwhelming, what I've offered there is a different approach. What I would say is, please understand that you, as parents and carers, are not alone if you are feeling overwhelmed when supporting your child. And please understand that we are in the same boat. You know, I found myself doing some chemistry at 9 o'clock last night and feeling incredibly frustrated that I couldn't offer the level of support I wanted to. You know, I'm going to go away and read up and research and figure it out. But that's completely normal. The feeling of feeling overwhelmed for the students and for us at this time. What we're trying to do is put enough strategies in place to reduce that feeling of being overwhelmed. And if there's anything else you think we can do, we are really open to feedback. We want it to be as positive an experience as possible. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Ms. Key, who's going to talk to you a little bit about how you can support in the home environment the running of the school timetable, but also for revision purposes, that we know that the year 11s, 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, it's a great habit to get into. So I'll hand over to Ms. Key, and I will remember to move the PowerPoint on for you, Ms. Key.
Hello, thank you for joining us. These are just some hints and tips. There's 10 of them. It is basic common sense, but I do want to kind of remind you, I think we all need a timely reminder at times like this. Lockdown and impending exams are nerve-wracking, and they are terrible times for children and parents and carers. I find myself as a parent worrying if I'm doing enough or too much or doing it wrong. So I put together some hints and tips on ways that we can help without either taking over or getting under their skin or causing any bother. So we've got number one, encourage your child to make a revision timetable. So we've spoken about that briefly before, but also the importance of sticking to it. And again, post-COVID, hopefully that will be a really nice habit to get into for revision and just for learning, and maybe at weekends or holidays, just to help them stick to it and have some routine. Also, making sure your child has a quiet space to work with no distractions. This isn't always possible if you've got other children at home or you're working at home. It can be tricky, but it does help if there is a quieter place for your child or to do some work. Number three, help to find a method of learning and retain information that works best for them. So there's various different aspects of learning. For example, reading and making notes, using flashcards, post-it notes, video clips, playing back recordings, going online. They're all full of useful ideas, and it's not one size fits all. Your child is unique and they will find a way that works best for them, and it's about you encouraging that. Checking exam specifications, it's quite scary as an adult, especially if you're not in education, to wonder where your child's up to, what they're going to be sitting without asking the basic questions, but not knowing how to help. The exam board's actually published the specifications, which basically says what your child is needing to do to get the required grades. Also, there are practice papers and mark schemes too. And also, leading into that, there are revision apps and online resources to help. Most children have smartphones now, so they can download the apps and that will help them. Also, looking at areas where your child needs to improve their confidence with more, because teenagers do tend to focus on their weaker subjects last and do their best subjects first. It's what we would naturally do because it's what gives them confidence. We'd need to try and encourage the other way around so it builds their confidence in their weaker areas as well. Number six, be around as much as possible. Again, it can be difficult if you're working, if you've got other responsibilities, but children do like parents taking an interest in them, not taking over, but just taking an interest in how they're doing. And then leading into that is keeping the kitchen cupboard stocked with lovely food. A little treat, a little bit of bribery often goes a long way. It does with my children as well. They're in primary. Not advocating bribery, but it often helps. Number eight, making sure you encourage them to take a break. Do not do hours on end. It becomes counterproductive. It doesn't work. 30-40 minute chunks is by far the best method, unless obviously they're on a live lesson that's slightly longer, but just giving them regular breaks just to unwind, clear the head. And then that leads into number 9, which is exercise, fresh air, healthy food and lots of sleep. Please encouraging a regular sleep wake routine, as a lot of teenagers do tend to turn nocturnal, getting up really late in the day, going to bed really late at night. It's not healthy, and then they miss parts of school, and then it has a snowball effect, and it's not great. And then number 10, most of all, help your child keep everything in perspective. Remind them that the better they prepare and the more confident they feel in their subjects, the better and easier it will be when they do return to learning. But also, I did want to put this in because I think it's really important. Everyone is struggling, but we are one step closer to normality, and we have come this far, and hopefully we'll never have to do it again. And you're all doing an absolute fabulous job, but hopefully these may help you just a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Key. Before I say for anyone to go into one of the other sessions, we've got 2 more sessions running. There'll be how to submit work, supporting your child with submitting work, and there's also a mental health and wellbeing session. I think I'd just like to end on the idea that I think a lot of the media focuses at the moment about things that have been lost or things that our children have lost during lockdown. And I look at my own 2 children, and I know that lots of people are in the same boat. And I think, okay, yeah, there has been learning lost, and online learning is not as efficient as being in the classroom. And I miss being in the classroom with my students. But actually, they are gaining a huge amount in terms of resilience, in terms of independent working, in terms of time management. And we know that as they get older and they enter the world of work, those skills are priceless. So I think, I understand that there's lots of things that have been lost and there are lots of difficulties, but I think let's not forget that there are some wins there as well. And there are lots of things that families and individual children have gained. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to ask you if you'd like to leave this session. If you've got any questions, please